The Agile values stated in the Agile Manifesto should drive your management of Agile projects and frame your decisions. It should be the paradigm that you, whether operating as the function of the project manager or as an Agile team member, and all of the stakeholders involved in the project should be working in. Here is a reminder of what the four Agile values are: individuals and interactions over processes and tools, working software over comprehensive documentation, customer collaboration over contract negotiation, responding to change over following a plan. Let's discuss each one in further detail, starting with individuals and interactions over processes and tools. Tools and technology have unequivocally advanced humans over the millennia and continue to do so at an even more progressive pace in the modern world. Thinking about how rapidly technology has changed in the last 10 years is mind-boggling, but try to imagine what it will be like in another 10. 10 years ago, we could not have had imagined the smartphone app market and delivery on a phone. It just didn't exist. 10 years in the future, we might be using the tools of augmented reality that seem unimaginable these days. So being stringent on a particular tool or product being used can be damaging if it is put ahead of the individual and interaction needs. I've seen Agile projects where it is proclaimed that this tool will solve all our issues, only to see it not solve the issues. Yes, tools are necessary to get work done. It'd be difficult to code without a computer of any kind. However, tools should not mandate how things go, nor should the tool dictate the solution. I've personally seen many times where solutions were dictated because someone only knew one tool and expected everything new to run the same way and wouldn't accept other ideas. The second part of that equation is the processes. Processes assist in making things more standardized and efficient when done properly. Processes that are too rigid or tie up innovation and flexibility are antithesis to the power of Agile project management. Bureaucracy and overbearing paperwork can slow things down too much, especially if the actions required are wasteful and contribute little value to the needs and expectations of people and the project. This is where you may notice that too much or too thorough documentation is deterred in Agile project management approaches. As you'll see in the next value statement, the mantra of Agile practices is only the documentation that is necessary. You should not be under the impression that Agile project management is the Wild West where no rules or procedures are to be followed. This is not the case. What is the case, as the value statement stresses, is that the policies and mechanisms followed in an Agile project should not override the day-to-day interactions and abilities of the people to operate in a flexible and agile manner. Where the line is depends greatly on the project, the environment in which the project is managed, as well as the people involved. It is a value statement, not an instruction or benchmark. Teams and people want to make things happen in a knowledge-based workplace. The interactions of people with the work are more critical than the processes or tools they may be forced to use. Remember, tools do not know when done is done. That falls on the people involved. Keep this and the other three values in mind when applying Agile methods in the real world. The project team and the project stakeholders are all individuals, and they must all interact efficiently to be successful. Consider their needs more than any process or tool requirements, or self-inflicted controls or constraints. The next value is working software over comprehensive documentation. Like the first value, this doesn't mean to completely get rid of or disregard the value of documentation. It is more of where the appropriate time and energy should be placed. Too much time, resources, and energy spent on documenting every minute detail instead of spending that same limited time, energy, and resources on good working software would be going in the wrong direction. Agile projects, whether or not they deliver software or any other product, like a marketing campaign, are seeking deliverables of value. If nothing is delivered, then there is no value. If extreme documentation is hindering the ability of work to be delivered, the project value is diminished. As one who's worked on or with documentation teams, I approach this value with caution. It may be construed that because a team has switched their project management approach to an Agile method, they think they can toss documentation to the wayside. That can be dangerous and counterproductive as well. Documentation has inherent value. Working software is of primary importance, but if no one knows how to work it or how it works in the manner it does, then the software is of little use. This value is more of a reaction to the early engineering perspective of software development, wherein the quest for detailed documentation was the norm, a norm which compromised the ability of teams to adjust quickly and produce in a faster, more agile manner. As a personal observance, a balance of sufficient documentation to support the usability of good working software or any deliverable should be reached. Striking the correct balance is key. To use this value statement to guide finding the correct balance for your project, consider your primary objective of delivering a product to customers over the need to document the deliverable in such a manner that it stalls its delivery, its objective, or its ability to be adaptive and agile. The third value statement listed in the Agile Manifesto is customer collaboration over contract negotiation. This value and the fourth are more closely related to each other than the other two. The guiding value of working with the customer and inviting their input and feedback, even if it takes the project in a whole new way or sheds little resemblance to the original agreement, is often difficult for some project managers or team members, especially those new to Agile project management. Agile projects, by nature, do not seek out to understand and plan every little detail and to author a contract with a client that is based stringently on those mappings. The desire of a client to change direction should not be viewed punitively. After all, the beauty of Agile project management is its flexibility and its interest in combining the voice of the customer into the decisions and direction that makes the approach so powerful. If contract constraints limit the ability of Agile teams to work in a collaborative setting, it enables constant communication and a redefining of when done is done. Projects where work and changes are nickeled and dimed, as if it were lawyers charging for every moment spent with the customer, lose the inherent need of Agile projects, that is, the necessity to work closely and collaboratively with customers. If the contract states that the background of the software application is supposed to be blue, but the customer sees the great work your team has done to distinguish the various pages within the application to reflect different actions or areas the user would be working on, and therefore desires to color code each of those areas with the distinct colors in the company's official color palette, there should not be a quick jump to squash the suggestion simply on the grounds that it is not in the contract. On the other hand, if no color clause was in the contract to begin with, should a project manager be quick to demand that contracts be written to include new color requests before conducting any work on its end? Granted, in some environments, the contract terms tightly bind the team. In some cases, it could be that Agile project management approaches are not the best fit, especially when considering this value. In cases where contracts do rule, then consideration for formulating the contract wording and structure to best accommodate and encourage the close collaboration between Agile teams and the customer is critical. As a colleague of mine once put it, it is better to do the right thing for the project than worry about being completely right. Now, he wasn't directly attributing it to this one value, but I think it correlates well. Knowing the right thing to do can only be determined by collaborating with the customer in the appropriate channels for them to express what is the right thing to do. The fourth and final value is responding to change over following a plan. As I said before, there is an interrelatedness between this value and the third value of customer collaboration over contract negotiation. Complete and full detailed plans from the onset are nearly impossible and undesirable. Changes are inevitable in a knowledge-based project, more so in a software project, but also conceptually in all knowledge-based projects. Changes should be encouraged, and an efficient path should be provided where changes can be made and put into place. Too many rigorous and arduous change management procedures derail the general nature of Agile project management. The primary benefit is to be flexible enough to handle change. Quick, thoughtful changes allow an Agile project to keep progressing towards value. In the digital age, and when working with knowledge systems, there is less waste endured when making changes. Arguably, there can be more waste if changes do not happen. Changes should be encouraged and sought out. Since the way we interact and use technology is constantly evolving, It's nearly impossible to think that the one and only way to make a deliverable remains the ultimate solution unchanged throughout the designing, development, testing, and deployment. Even if such a possibility is achievable, you may be doing yourself and your team an injustice by being unwilling or less accepting of alternatives, improvements, or adaptations that could yield different or better solutions. This can be a double-edged sword if taken too literally. The value statement is not saying planning is unnecessary and we should simply make things up as we go. I have heard critics saying, "Why plan anything? You're just going to change it." Planning is necessary and a critical component of Agile project management, as it is in traditional project management. The difference is in how it is conducted. Since changes are expected, and you plan heavily for the short term and lightly for the long term, both the long-term and short-term plans direct the project and the consideration and evaluation of the changes. Plans are still an integral part of an Agile project, but veering away from the plan is allowed if needed. I'll compare this to when my wife and I visited Italy. We had an overall plan of the places and cities we wanted to visit, but we didn't make any reservations. Throughout our journey, we had a high-level train map with our primary goal in mind. In one case, our plan was to travel up the coast to Bologna. We spotted a gorgeous beach resort from the train that wasn't in our plans. We adapted quickly and made a change. We got off at the next stop, and it ended up being our favorite portion of the entire trip. Because we established an Agile planning mindset from the start, we were able to quickly and effectively accommodate our change requests while keeping the big picture of the project's purpose and objectives. That is an environment necessary for an Agile project to really take advantage of the methodology. Those are the 4 values stated in the Agile Manifesto. The Agile values listed in the Agile Manifesto are not strict guidelines, but serve more as subtle reminders of what makes the Agile project management approach work at its core.